If you've seen our Thin Mint Bugger video, or you know how good a Thin Mint is, try this super flowy streamer version.
That's a big brown.
All right, if you've seen our video from a couple, 3 years ago, I was throwing a Thin Mint Bugger, so I had hackle in a river. It was really good. We've been fishing these, I call them river style buggers, last couple years pretty consistently, and they're just nice and flowy. So I think doing the Thin Mint in that style, longer flowier fibers, is killer. And the Thin Mint one has been a color combo it's impossible to beat, really. It's good, but maybe not impossible. Anyway, we're gonna grab some, got our bead on, and we're just gonna tag some more weight in here. I don't know, 10 wraps or so of lead, and then just jam that back into the bead. That kind of helps the bead get held in place and also helps the weight so this gets down a lot quicker. And then just a few more wraps to lock that all in place. Nice thing about this style river bugger, for lack of a better word, certainly nothing I invented, but I like this style. It's easy to tie. It's basically got two materials. So I'm going to grab some tail materials, and this is just a fluorescent green or a melon green marabou with some brown. And so I'll use a little bit of each of those in the tail, and I just grab some fibers kind of all together and tie them in. And we're going for 1.5 or 2 times the body on the length of the tail. And I want the butt ends to end about where that lead ended, so we create a nice, somewhat uniform taper. Then we'll go back. And then here's where we start the body, which is super duper easy. Ice, chenille, medium, and dark brown. You can use whatever chenille you want, but this ice chenille is pretty awesome. Just going to tie that in right ahead of the marabou here, and go right up to just before the bead. Don't need a ton of wraps there. Leave a little space, but I actually do like to get the chenille right up to behind the bead, so there's plenty of space there, or plenty of stuff for the marabou to wrap around. So now I'll get 2 separate pieces of marabou, again brown and the green, and I want to separate the tips as much as possible. That's we're going to tie these in and just wrap. This is a really simple method. You could wrap these with a clip and align the fibers and do a kind of a composite loop sort of deal. I'm just going to really do the lazy man's route and tie these in at the tips. So I'll come down to where the other fibers are. And just like most of my flies that look like crap early on, as we finish up and brush it out, it'll look okay. So you don't need too many wraps here. So what we'll do is preen these fibers back to start, and I'm going to do 1 full wrap where I've got the fibers going back. And so we've got 1 now, and just at that 1 wrap, well, let's call it 1.5 wraps. I am now in front of the marabou with my thread, preen those back, and now we'll just throw a couple of other wraps. You just want to tighten these up. You want to make sure that you're down seated on top of the wraps. If you're not, it will come undone. So I'll come up here and just trim the two stems as close as I can. Okay, now that's a little bit of an ugly mess, but we're going to brush these back. And you can even take your Stonfo comb or any sort of hair comb and just brush these fibers out if they got trapped a little bit in the process. And then you can just preen these fibers back and clean up the head with a couple wraps and a whip finish. And again, you can just get those looking good. And there you go. Has a ton of movement. We'll usually fish these on sink tip lines, depending on the river where you are, how deep it is. You could use floating lines. This is heavy enough. But this is intended to get down pretty quick and then use your sinking line to keep it down where you need it. And as it pauses in the water, these fibers will glare out and pulse as they get pulled through. So it's a nice pattern. Really, really one of my favorite streamer patterns, and it's easy. So give it a try. The link is down in the description. Check us out at flyfishfood.com.